Hello there, film fans, and welcome to More Movies Weekly, number 33.
Your father didn't make lieutenant until he was 33.
This is the podcast where we like to talk about film, movies, cinema, all of that kind of stuff. My name's Greg Fisher. His name is David Roberts. How you doing this week, Dave?
I'm absolutely fabulous, sir. Very, very well. How are you?
I'm great, man. What have you been up to this week?
Well, I've actually just come from a wedding this weekend, so that was quite exciting.
4 weddings and a funeral.
And a funeral.
I do.
That sounds good. Was it good fun?
It was good fun, good knees up.
Everybody loves a good knees up at the wedding, don't they? Especially when Dave Roberts is there, king of the dance floor. Well, this week we've been watching a couple of new movies, most notably Finch, starring Tom Hanks, who was directed by Miguel Sapochnik. I think we did a reaction trailer to this a month or so back, didn't we?
We did.
And now we've seen the movie. So, if you want to know our thoughts about Finch, The Last Duel, and the latest movie news, then stay with us. So, Dave, Finch, what did you make of it?
It was okay. It's a fine film. It's enjoyable enough, but I think I expected more. And
More?
And it wasn't quite more. It had everything that you'd expect to be in there. You know, it was the post-apocalyptic drama. Tom Hanks being Tom Hanks, and he's brilliant at it. It didn't feel like it did anything new to me. I think that was the thing. It was just like, I've heard this story 10,000 times. Predictable. It didn't keep my attention. I think that was the major thing.
So to fill people in a little bit who may know nothing about this film, the synopsis goes that Tom Hanks lives in a world that has been pretty much buggered, fudged up, totally destroyed by environmental disasters. I think it's blamed on a solar flare. In this case, it's not so much that it's like this actual situation we're in where carbon is heating up the planet. It was a solar flare, so everything's gone foobar. What was once lovely green pastures full of flowers and fields is now barren desert. So he's kind of on his own. He's a scavenger. He's going about collecting little old cans of beans, stuff like that. He's got a dog for company, this like scruffy looking little mongrel, beautiful little dog. It's kind of remind me of Benji for people who remember those movies. And he builds a robot. So basically what we've got here is somewhere between a mashup of Castaway, because it's Tom Hanks on his own, and Chappie, because, this is like that's kind of what the robot reminded me of a bit. Somewhere between Chappie and Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Please, call me Johnny Five.
Johnny, you have taken name for yourself?
And Benji, the dog. Or Lassie, or whatever you want to say. And they are basically on a road trip, aren't they? They decide to go west. Go west, young man, because where they are, there's massive storms coming in, and they can't go north because there's cities there, and that means people, and that means trouble, because obviously we're in a sort of apocalyptic kind of situation where people have just become savages again. No civilization left. So they decide to go west because apparently the whole of Florida is underwater in this world when he looks at the map. So sorry, Florida, you better get those boats out or learn to swim, because it looks like you're going under. So head west across the mountains, as he says, and they head for San Francisco, I believe, is the final destination. And they're in like what the Americans call a RV, a recreational vehicle, a Winnebago, a mini Winnie. Remember that guy, Winnebago man? So funny.
What the fuck is this thing? All of the windshield, for fuck's sake. Fuck. Oh, fuck. Shit.
Best swearer I've ever heard in my life. That guy is a legend. So they're in the Winnebago. They're heading west. And that's it, isn't it? I mean, the rest is about him teaching the robot how to become human.
Yeah.
It's that old trope. So when you say, I've seen this story 1,000 times, blah, 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 I think there's several different stories packed into this one film. And it feels very familiar for that reason, even though it is quite new. It's got a lot of elements of lots of different sort of films. And it is quintessential Tom Hanks territory.
It is. And I think, like, you know, also, like, if you think, like, you know, they talk about the people which are kind of, you know, you don't want to run into people because it's dangerous, you know, because of the times it's in. That felt very, like, Mad Maxy to me. Kind of, you know, the original Mad Max is really kind of vibe in terms of, you don't want to run into people because it's going to be trouble.
It's going to be full of people with assless chaps and mohawks trying to shoot you with a crossbow.
Yeah.
I want to steal your like gasoline.
Like the robot, you know, especially at the end, left, you know, in this kind of world that's been ruined by humans. You know, it's very Wall-E to me, and kind of building a robot made of recycled parts. Yeah. In fact, there's two robots actually, because you got the
one at the start was much more like Wall-E in that sense, I suppose.
It was, yeah.
And it's reminiscent of a lot of those sort of films that sort of pit humans with technology. So what was that Bruce Dern film we were talking about yesterday? Silent Runnings, something like that. Yes, that kind of comment on technology and technology for company as well. That it also happened in Moon. Do you remember that with Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, yeah. Very good film.
Yeah, there's elements of it there. It's been done a lot. But like I say, this one kind of reminded me of Chappie quite a bit. Have you seen Chappie?
I have seen bits of it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've seen certainly the clips, and especially where they first kind of boot up the robot and stuff. And that was very similar kind of vibe. Really.
Well, even when that came out, it was reminding me of Short Circuit. This whole thing about, you know, robots becoming your best mates, you know, you teach them a few tricks, a bit like Terminator 2, isn't it? You know, he teaches them all that stuff. And by the end, he's becoming a bit more human. And that was obviously a big element to this. It wasn't a barrel of laughs, this movie.
No, it really wasn't.
It kind of got dark towards the end, didn't it?
It did. Once you kind of get into that final act, it was a bit kind of like... Oof.
We won't say why. We won't spoil it for people. They'll have to check it out for themselves if they want to see why. But if you look at the poster and everything and the tone of the film, you know, there's a lot of daylight. It's the poster kind of looks a little bit sort of like more like a film like Short Circuit, like it might be fun, a fun adventure. But it kind of didn't go there, and I think it to its detriment, really. If it had maybe stayed along those lines, it might have been a more entertaining, more successful film. But because it kind of went down that path of, you know, ultimately sort of darkness, really, like you said, it gets a little bit sort of. I don't think boring's the right word, but
it's not that it's boring, but it feels pedestrian. It feels like it's doing it enough, you know, to hit it, but it's not going any further. And I think when we talk about the serious, it's kind of serious. It's not super serious, but it's kind of serious.
This is the thing; it walks that line, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it felt like if you're going to do that, you know, the great thing about those classic kind of dystopian, you know, Silent Running and films like that, especially from the early 70s, was kind of the key timeline of these kind of what's going to happen in the future. But those great films had a really great philosophical message.
Sure.
That they were trying to tell us, and they did really well in that. And I never felt this had that. It was kind of just... this is what we'll do, and that was it.
It was like classic Tom Hanks territory, wasn't it? He was very, you know, as usual, very avuncular, very kind of like, well, I'll tell you an old story, and basically that'll have the meaning of life in it. And to be fair to it, I thought the script was very good. It was very well written in terms of what it did, because it didn't talk down to you, and the exposition was kind of wove into the script in kind of clever ways. I'm thinking, for example, in particular when he tells the story about witnessing that mother and daughter with the gun. We won't say any more than that.
Yeah,
but there was kind of a point to the story and the way he got it across, and it kind of let you know more about his character and where he'd come from. And I thought that was quite cleverly done. So it's got its merits, this film, and it looks really great. I thought the CGI and everything and the robot itself, it looked really, really good. All those storms that come in and everything as well. It's quite exciting moments that happen in it. But once that happens once or twice, without that other threat, like the human threat, I felt that maybe needed that a bit. I felt that the closer he got to San Francisco, because there's that bit in it where they're getting followed by someone and they have to hide, because it's obviously, like you said, there's a Mad Max element. It's like, if these road pirates catch up to us, we're dead sort of thing. But you never see them, and you never really see anyone else apart from Tom Hanks or the people in Tom Hanks's memories and the robot and the dog. But I think that might have helped, really, if he'd got to San Francisco or close to it and there was more civilization that he had to, in some way, deal with or navigate. Might have brought a bit more of an exciting element to it. And instead it kind of, it sort of petered out in quite a sad way, really. It was a bit of a Debbie Downer.
It did. And the last 10 minutes, I was kind of just like, it was just... It didn't really go anywhere then. It was just like, yeah, okay. And I don't know if it's a bit of a shame, really,
Yeah.
I think from what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And what could have been.
And I think it was ambiguous in its tonality, in the sense that it was, on the one side of it, it's trying to sell itself as a sort of happy-go-lucky buddy movie with Tom Hanks and his robot plus dog. Exactly. And it ended up being, trying to be too philosophical and downbeat. And it's like, come on, pick one or the other and go that way. Because if you try to split those two things up, you end up with a watered down version of both.
Yeah.
So there we go.
The best thing about it was the dog, because he was so cute. But
he was a lovely doggo, wasn't he? To be fair, I like the robot as well, Jeff. It was, it was cool. It was, but like you said, it's been done before. We've seen it before. I prefer Chappie. I'd rather have Johnny Five with me. Hey, laser lips, your mother was a snowblower.
That whaps you up, you wascoey robot.
There we go. Have you seen Finch? What did you think of it? This is out on Apple now. I think it's Apple Films, so you can see it on demand. If you've seen it, let us know what you thought in the comments. But I think, as the great man himself says, that's all we have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
So last week I mentioned I was a bit disappointed that The Last Duel did not last very long.
You didn't last very long.
In terms of its theatrical run, because we were going to go and try and see it down in the city, and we couldn't find a cinema that was still playing it, none of the big ones anyway, and it kind of got pulled. I found out later it was still playing in Bristol, places like that, but I ain't going all the way to Bristol to see it. But then I found out that my local cinema, which is like a smaller independent cinema, was playing it. So guess what? I got to go and see it.
You jammy bastard.
So yeah, I was just going to talk about that briefly for a minute. I know you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to spoil it for you or anyone else that's watching the podcast here. But I'd just like to say that I thought it was a really good film. Ridley Scott again, of course, directing. It stars Jodie Comer, Adam Driver, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
And Ben Affleck. Now, I'm not a massive Matt Damon fan, or Ben Affleck, really. I don't like run to see their movies, don't think they're too fantastic, but they were both brilliant in this film. Adam Driver, he's okay. He's pretty cool. He seems to be in everything at the moment. He's also going to be in House of Gucci, which is the next Ridley Scott film to be released. Something that we've got to watch soon, because I'm excited about that. But Jodie Comer, I am a fan of. I know her mainly from the BBC show Killing Eve, and one or two other bits she's done. She's only a youngster. She's from Liverpool, so obviously that's a big bonus for her. She's an incredibly talented actress, and she's the sort of central figure in this, what is a predominantly male-dominated film. She's like the only sort of, she's not the only woman in it, but she's the only sort of main character who's a woman in it. And it's a film about her character and what happens to her. And it's one of those films that it tells the story several times, but it tells it from different people's perspectives, like Rashomon or something like that, the Kurosawa film. You get to hear the same story from different perspectives. So firstly, you get to hear it from Matt Damon's perspective, who's her husband in it. Then you get to hear it from Adam Driver's perspective, he's friends with Matt Damon, but he's also a rival with him. So you can see with her coming into it, the rivalry occurs where, he's obviously taken a fancy to Matt Damon's wife. So the heavy part of it all here is that she ends up being raped by him. So then you hear her perspective as well of the story. So this was something I didn't expect. It's called The Last Duel. It's like swords, knights of the realm sort of time. It's in like the 14th century. It's like 1382 or something like that. So I was kind of expecting a bit of a rip-roaring, hack and slash adventure film like that. And it's not. It's much more deep than that and much more serious and heavy in that sense. And it's very cleverly done. It's a very, very well done film. You'd expect as much from Ridley Scott. It has got the action in it. It has got all that stuff as well as the drama and the kind of gravitas of the situation. It's a really enjoyable film. I would say see it to anyone who enjoys that sort of thing. Anyone who's a fan of Jodie Comer, you've got to check out her work in it because she is absolutely brilliant in it. And it's like, it's a shame that it's not still running. I don't know how it's done at the box office, but for me, it's one of those. It's a top class Ridley Scott film.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds brilliant. I was quite sad that it was pulled so quickly from cinemas, and it didn't really make sense why they did pull it. I'm assuming that the box office takers weren't good enough. But everyone I know who has seen it, including your good self, has raved about how good it is.
It is great.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see it, and I really do want to. So I can't wait for it to come out online somewhere, rental or something.
Sure.
And
I'm sure it'll come along pretty soon as well, because that's what's happening at the moment. Maybe before Christmas, be able to get your hands on it. I was thinking that maybe another one of the reasons that they pulled it was that House of Gucci is coming out so soon afterwards, and it's like, well, that's the next Ridley Scott film, so we're pushing that one now. Because it's not just this Ridley Scott, we've got Adam Driver there as well, so maybe that had something to do with it. But obviously, both of these films have been waiting in the wings to be released due to the pandemic, so they both kind of got pushed out pretty much at the same time. I can't wait to see House of Gucci. As anyone who listens to us or watches us will know, we're both excited to see that film. But this surprised me, this film. I'm really glad I actually got to catch it. I got to catch it down in Wyside Arts Centre in Builth Wells. They're a great independent cinema. It's another reason to support your local cinemas, your independent cinemas. They, that place down there, they play all sorts of stuff. You might have to wait a couple of weeks to catch something, but that's good, because if you've missed it on, down in the city in the main release, you can always catch it afterwards in the independent places. That's
it. It's the benefit, isn't it, that it's actually, it almost extends the theatrical life of it, really.
It does.
Beyond the main multiplexes. So yeah, I can't wait to check it out. It's one that kind of, it did creep up at the time, kind of, people started talking about it, and but then as soon as people mentioned it, it was gone.
I know. We were both a bit gutted, and I'm gutted you didn't get to see it at the same time as me, because I'd love to talk to you about it a bit more, less one-sided, so to speak. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. Maybe we'll come back to it when you have had the chance just to give your thoughts on it as well, or you could do a review of it, maybe something like that. We'll definitely get to see House of Gucci at the same time, because we want to cover that on the podcast here. But what about yourselves? Have you seen The Last Duel? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Do you love Jodie Comer as much as I do? Leave us a comment below and let us know what you thought of that movie. But yeah, highly recommended. Do try and see it.
So this week's movie news, we've just had a poster drop for the new Spider-Man film coming up in December, which of course I'm sure you're very excited about, Greg, your favourite superhero of them all. Here's the poster, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Looks cool.
I'm assuming that's Doc Ock's legs coming in around the sides of the poster there.
Yeah, definitely. We know that Alfred Molina is returning as Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock, or whatever you want to call him, Otto Octavius. So obviously they've put them in. If you see in the underneath that top right tentacle, we've got the Green Goblin on his glider.
Yes.
So I'm hoping and assuming that is going to be Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. To be honest, I'm almost more excited to see him back in it because I absolutely adore Willem Dafoe. He's one of my favourite of all time actors. Thought he was great as Norman Osborn, great as the Green Goblin. Not so keen on James Franco, so I don't really want to see him back. So yeah, Willem Dafoe, that'll be great. You've got Benedict Cumberbatch there as Doctor Strange, and obviously it's Tom Holland playing Spider-Man. The poster is, it's okay. It looks like a fan-made one to me. It doesn't look like, I don't know, it doesn't look as good as some other fan-made ones I've seen, is what I want to say, I suppose. Because the whole thing is everybody wants that announcement that Tobey Maguire is definitely going to be in it and Andrew Garfield's definitely going to be in it. They want to see the 3 Spider-Men in it. That's what people really want to see with this. It's been hinted at that that's going to happen because we know that we're going to get elements from the Sam Raimi films in there anyway. Plus the elements from the Amazing Spider-Man, because I believe Jamie Foxx is coming back as Shocker.
Yeah.
So, you know, they haven't actually said it yet. Maybe they're saving it, but I've seen some people prepare some posters that completely,
show it. Yeah.
Yeah, in one way or another, and it's done quite cleverly. If I can find it, we can put it up. There's one where you got Doc Ock's tentacles again, but he's got the 3 masks, one in each sort of like hand there or whatever, and that I thought that was a pretty cool job. This one, like I say, it's all right, it's okay, but it you know, it's either these fan ones are getting so good, or the ones they're doing for the official release are just, you know, a little bit lackluster. What about you? I mean, you know, I enjoy it and everything, but what about you? You're not a massive fan of superhero stuff or Marvel, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds exciting. I think, the poster isn't the greatest, but I can understand that they're probably waiting off the whole, the big thing would be to have the 3 Spider-Men on there, and they're still holding off on that announcement, obviously.
Yeah.
I think with fan posters, I've thought for years that some of the fan posters for all kinds of films and stuff have always been far superior, but they've got the luxury of time and they're able to do different things that I guess official ones aren't allowed to get away with and stuff.
The trouble I have with this one is there's too much white space in it, all that background that's obviously represents the void. We've seen it in the trailer. They get sucked into some sort of void, which is obviously going to result in this multiverse scenario. But for me, just from a design perspective, I just think that's a little bit too much white space. It's a bit jarring. But there we go. Whatever. December 15th. I'll be there.
Not far away now.
Bad poster or not, I'll be there to watch it.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
In other news, did you see that they're going to be doing Lethal Weapon 5? They are actually going to be doing it now, and Mel Gibson is going to direct it.
Oh, God.
Well, come on. You know, he does star in all those movies, and and as much as I detest Mel Gibson, he is a very good film director.
He is. I'm not sure this is the kind of film he would excel at, though, particularly.
Why not? He starred in 4 of them. He knows what he's doing.
No, yeah, but just I think more of his.
Who'd have thought I'd ever be defending Mel Gibson, right?
I know. When I think of Mel Gibson's directed films, I think of more like big epic films. You know, he kind of does rather than something like this.
He's done a few action movies, but yeah, I mean, Richard Donner did the 4. Obviously, Richard Donner passed away this year, earlier on, at the age of 91. We did a top 5 Richard Donner films just afterwards. We'll put a link to that in the description below if you want to check out that article. I don't think any of the Lethal Weapons films were in it. Maybe the first one. The first one's always the best. I used to like Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon 3 was okay. We got a bit silly. And Lethal Weapon 4, like we've said before quite a few times, when they get to the 4th installment, beyond that, these films tend to tank downwards at rapid speed. And
that's why this one doesn't sound that interesting, to be honest.
No, it doesn't. I mean, he's quite old now in terms of being running around and being an action guy and, you know, jumping off buildings or shooting the bad guys by, you know, flying through the air, shooting guns and all that stuff. I mean, I assume Danny Glover's back. I don't know whether all the rest of them are, Chris Rock, Joe Pesci, Rennie Russo. But there we go, I suppose.
It seems a strange choice as well because they've just recently done that TV series, haven't they, of Lethal Weapon?
Yeah, never saw it. Wasn't really interested in it, personally.
I wasn't interested, but I know a couple of people who have watched it who said it was very good.
Oh, right.
Surprisingly.
It didn't run for very long, though.
I think they did a few series and then they've rebooted it with other actors as well. I think.
Okay.
But,
weird.
It's so still been quite good. So it seems strange that if they tried to reboot it, why they're then going back again to go, okay, we're going to do 5 now. It's just like, not quite sure. But, we've heard about Beverly Hills Cop as well. Another 80s kind of cop franchise they wanted to bring back. And,
yeah.
It's just like, I don't think they'll work, and I think just leave them be. It's
like they were big hits for these actors back in the day. Obviously, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, they had massive hit with the first couple of Lethal Weapon films. Eddie Murphy had a massive hit with Beverly Hills Cop, and as we've discussed before, he did the second installment of Coming to America recently. That was kind of, I didn't think it was that great. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing about Lethal Weapon, if you think back to it, even in that one, Danny Glover's character was like, I'm getting too old for this. Well, now it's like, you are too old for this. You're definitely too old for this. What the hell, dude? Yeah, so I'm not expecting big things. Obviously, I won't write it off completely. I mean, as I've just admitted, I don't like Mel Gibson very much. But back when I was younger and Mel was younger, I used to love the Lethal Weapon films. I loved Mad Max. I loved Lethal Weapon. I loved most of Mel Gibson films back in the day when he had the 80s mullet and he was like fresh-faced Mel before we knew what a sinister son of a bitch he is. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, but he is. He's not a nice guy. And that's kind of why I don't like him now, even though I will say he's very talented. He's very good at making films. But whether this one will be any good or not, who knows?
I'm too old for this shit.
And that just gives us enough time to tell you what we've been up to this week elsewhere on the internet. We did a reaction to King Richard, which is the latest Will Smith film where he plays Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena Williams, the famous tennis stars. So we reacted to the trailer for that. If you want to see it, there's a link in the description below.
Also up on our website this week is our latest review for Strangers on a Train. That's on the website and of course on YouTube, Film in 5. That was voted for by our patrons over on Patreon. So that's up now and the link for that is in the description down below.
We've also done an article, our top 5 Andrei Tarkovsky films. So there's a link to that below. Again, if you're a fan of Tarkovsky, who's like the sort of Russian Stanley Kubrick, if you will, one of the greatest modern filmmakers. He didn't do many films, but we've plucked out our favourite 5 of the bunch that he did do. And as I've said, there's a link below in the description if you want to check that article out.
If you want to listen to us on the go, audio only, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Plus, and all the other podcast vendors. We'll leave a link in the description below for you to check out where you can listen to us.
And don't forget, we're on Discord now. So if you Discord too, there's a link below to our server. Come and say hello. Come and join us on there. Join in the conversation on Discord.
And if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, you can hop on over to buymeacoffee.com and buy us a nice frappe, latte, cappuccino to support us on our way. Or if you are on Patreon and would like to support us monthly, you can join one of our packages there over on patreon.com, where you can vote for what films we review and discuss on the show and much more. The links for all this are in the description down below.
And don't forget to join us on social media. That's at More Movies For You across all the usual platforms, where you can see silly things like the movie of the day. Today's movie of the day is the classic 80s comedy drama Steel Magnolias. I fancy a good laugh today, so let's stick this on, check it out, see what it's all about.
1 hour, 53 minutes later.
There we go, our Dave. That's another week. We won't be here next week because you're on holiday, but we will have something going on the Friday, so stay tuned. And Yes, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. You're going on holiday to Florida, Dave.
I am. Sunny Florida.
You're going to have to
Orlando.
You're going to have to take a snorkel with you, according to Finch.
Yeah, so going to Finch, I'll be 10 feet underwater, so...
It's a water sports holiday. Well, have a very good time, my friend, and I look forward to seeing you when we get back and talking about more movies. In the meantime, you can check out loads of content here on our YouTube channel, loads of content over on our website, moremovies.co.uk, and we hope that you will join us again for episode 34 of More Movies Weekly, coming at you soon. Take care of yourselves. Keep watching more movies.
That's it for this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and remember to like, share and subscribe right here on YouTube. For more film reviews and articles, check out our website moremovies.co.uk, and join us on social media at More Movies For You. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all across the board. You know the score. If you enjoy what we do, please consider supporting us at buymeacoffee.com or join us on one of our packages on Patreon. The links are in the description down below. And for more filmtastic content, click one of the buttons on screen now.